the more variation we can show in our lines, the better the whole thing looks. And since this is something that all professional inkers and artists do, especially in comics and illustrations, the minute you start doing it, it'll start making your artwork look very neat and very professional also. Now, what I've done is I've just made these two ovals. I've just inked around these two ovals because they're very necessary to remain perfectly white in between. Okay, and there. That immediately makes the eyes look so adorable. Then the inside of the mouth also, you can make that also really neat like this by just making it totally black on the inside. Then here, go like this. Like this. Don't forget these little, skin folds, right? Don't forget that. This and like this. And just start filling it in. Okay. Now, what we'll do right after this, we'll start putting in the finer details with the other pen, and that's when things really start to look really professional. I mean, it already is starting to look neater for sure, but just watch when that next layer comes into play. Okay, so that's my main outlining. Now you might think that's everything, but it's actually not. So what I want you to do, right, is before we get into the other details, I want you to first, if you've drawn in everything, right? What I want you to do first is take your eraser and start erasing all the pencil lines, because we don't need all of those messy lines anymore, right? So just start removing all those pencil lines and make everything look nice and neat. Right? That's when your work will really start getting that sort of almost that perfect clip art artwork kind of look. It looks not done by hand. It'll also have a digital quality to it. So just get rid of all of these shaky lines and stuff done with the pencil, and then we'll do the finishing touches. Be a little careful though. If your paper is still a little bit damp from the brush pen, I mean from the sketch pen, then you might want to wait a little bit, or even press a little bit lighter when you're erasing. Okay. So now I'm taking my other pen, my thinner pen, right? Taking that. First thing I'm going to do is make some eyelashes right here. So eyelashes like this. Okay. Make a little line here. Make some eyelashes this way also. Okay. And then wherever I can, right, I'm going to try and make some skin textures. See? Just some skin textures, wherever I can. On the nostril, like this. Or even here. Some here. Okay. Then you also might want to put a few around the neck like this, just to add to that very rounded sort of look, you know. Then one great place to do it is near the fingers, like this. Keep it round, okay? Curved lines like this, curved back and forth lines from the claws all the way up the hand and a little bit on the arm also, like that. Do a similar thing here on the feet. Kavya is asking, is the pen you're using similar to a thin felt brush pen? No, it is not a brush pen. I'm assuming you mean the thicker one. That one is actually more like just a standard sketch pen, but it has certain slight differences in the sense that you can put a lot of pressure on it, and it won't leak more ink. It'll instead just make the the line wider. That's all. Wherever I can, I'm just making making sure that there are some lines just anywhere, just to show the curvature of it. Okay, Purnima is saying hands and legs have been out of proportion. Any tip avoiding that? So when it comes to a drawing like this, there's no real. I have not been focusing on proportion at all when it comes to this. It's an extremely cartoony cartoon, right? But when it comes to proportion, I would say the best thing to do is to follow stick figures. They will really help. And actually speaking, there is something about proportion which I will be talking about very soon. So just hang on. You'll actually be quite happy that I brought that up. Okay. And this is what your final image should end up looking like, you know. Now, even a simplistic cartoon, right? Even a very simplistic cartoon should have the ability to look impressive. Just because it's simple doesn't mean it shouldn't be impressive, right? And you following these stages, following these layered ways of cartooning, you can always aim for great amount of accuracy. Along with that, you can also actually go all the way to this level of accuracy. This is just one or two more layers beyond what I've shown you. This is just a color layer and a shading layer on top of it, using the same exact methods. Okay, you can do baby dinosaurs like that, or even like full grown guys like this guy here. Right, this has a lot more to do with skin tone and patterns, okay, and directional shadows, as well as something like this. But it comes down to the same rules. Okay, it's just about 2-3 more layers on top of what we have done. Otherwise, it follows the exact same methodology. Okay, so let's move on now to something else. I just wanted to show you to what extent you can actually take artwork like this. But right now, I want to move on to something that actually Purnima was just talking about, which was about proportion, right? She was talking about proportion. about hands and legs and things like that. So one thing, I've been teaching for a long time now, and I've had like lots and lots of students, over the years. And one thing that I know for a fact that even kind of experienced artists have a little bit of trouble with is proportions of a human figure, right? Anybody have trouble with that? Can I know in this room right here, out of all of you, does anyone here have trouble with human proportion? You know, in terms of the size of the head versus the arms and legs, and all of that stuff. Yeah, yeah. I'm already seeing quite a few yeses because that's just it happens to all of us, right? It's always that one hurdle which is a little bit tricky and annoying, and you wonder like where and how to fix that. So let's fix it right now. Okay, so I want everyone to take a fresh sheet of paper. Immediately, take a fresh sheet of paper because I want you to draw on the whole sheet of paper. I don't want you to use just one part of a page and struggle with getting the size right and all of that. Just take a fresh sheet. Now, since I'm not there with you, right? I'm not there with you to tell you how large to draw it. I'm just telling you that I'm keeping my page landscape mode like this, okay? Landscape mode. Now, if you want more space, then I would suggest maybe draw in portrait mode like this, okay? Just so that you don't run out of space because we're drawing a human body from head to toe. So I don't want you to draw and draw and draw and then suddenly realize after the hip you don't have space. That'll be quite tragic. So just be a little aware about the amount of space you're using on your page, okay? Now, what I'll do is I'll draw the head over here so that you can see how large it is compared to the page, and then I'll zoom in, okay? And then I'll zoom in. So I'll start off with an oval, okay? An oval for the head. We are all oval heads or egg heads. Just remember that. Now, that's the size of the head compared to the page. I'm drawing it that size because I need to make sure that the toes reach somewhere around here. Okay. Now I'll zoom in over there. Okay. Now I'm going to show you how to draw a human body without all of the fuss of measurements and tricky formulas and doing all of that kind of stuff. I'm just going to teach you how to draw a human being by comparing one part of the body to another part of the body. That's it. It's just a matter of comparison. Okay. So just keep on asking one question: how large is something compared to the next thing? So the question in this case would be: how long is the neck compared to this head that I've drawn? Okay. So I want you to first cut this head in half like this. Okay. And you see the space at the bottom, right? This much space here, this much space. That's the length of the neck. Okay. It can be a little lesser than that also if you wanted to, but more or less that much. Now the next question, the next obvious question is how broad are the shoulders, right? How broad are the shoulders? So now the shoulders, let's imagine that there is one head here next to this head and there is another head here next to this head. So it's kind of like three heads. Okay, let's just imagine that that's the case. Then the shoulder should be the width of all three heads. It shouldn't be broader than all three heads. No, it should be the same width as the three heads. Okay, and one thing I want you to remember: please draw joints wherever the a bone ends. Please draw a joint. It just helps with visualization. Okay. All right. Next question is very simple. How long are the arms? Right. So Now this is important because this is going to either make the whole human body too long, or it'll be too short, or something always goes wrong here. So now here's the way to fix this. Okay, let's treat the arms as two separate objects: the upper arm and the forearm. Right? Simple enough. So the upper arm is the same length as shoulder to shoulder. Okay, I'll repeat that. The upper arm is the same length as shoulder to shoulder. Same exact length. You see, this line is the same as this line, as the same as this line. Okay, very convenient. Easy to remember that. Okay, what about the forearms? The forearms is the same thing again. It's the same length again. The forearm length is the same as the upper arm length, which is the same as the shoulder to shoulder length. Again, a very convenient length to memorize, to remember. Okay. All right. So the arms are set. Now, what about the back? That's another tricky thing, right? Like, how do we now get the back to fall in line with the same proportions as the arms? So, from the base of the neck, that's here, from the base of the neck to the waist, okay, the waist will be at the exact same point as the elbows, making this length the same exact same length one more time. All right. Now you must be at this point. You must be wondering, okay, this must be highly inaccurate. This is just random estimation and all of that. So, to any of you who are skeptical with me right now, I can prove it to you. Most of you are sitting at a table right now, right? Most of you are sitting at a table. I want you to, right now, just try it with me. Just drop your arm to your side. Drop your arm to your side. Do you realize that your elbow is at the same level as your waistline, right? Same level as your waistline. So just keep that in mind, okay? Elbows and waistline is at the same exact level. Okay. But that's not where the back ends. The back goes a little bit more. So how much is that little bit more? That little bit more is basically half of this back that you've already drawn. Okay, so just draw that half more. That's all. The hip, I'll just draw kind of like a stapler pin, like an upside down stapler pin, kind of like this. Okay. Just make sure it's not as broad as the shoulder, okay? It shouldn't be as broad as the shoulder. It should be a little bit lesser. Okay. We're more than halfway through. We just have the legs left now. So the legs, let's separate out into two parts, the thighs and the calves. Now, we all have read in school, right? The thigh is the longest bone in the body, right? But how long? The question is how long? So instead of drawing it here, I'll first draw it here, just so that you can kind of make a comparison. So the thigh bone is as long as one full upper arm, okay, one full upper arm plus half more of the forearm. That's the length. This is the length of the thigh bone. Okay, so let's do that over here. One full upper arm plus half more. There. Okay. Also, you might have noticed we have not drawn the hands as yet. Okay, and that's because I was waiting to finish the thighs to do the hands. So basically the rule of thumb is that the hands need to come at the halfway point of the thighs. So it just comes something like this and like this. Okay, simple as that. Now, finally, we do the calf, right, or the shin bone, as it's called. So the shin bone is not as long as the thigh. Okay, we know that it's not as long as the thigh. but it's not as short as the forearm either. So let's do this. Let's draw the forearm length. Since we know that length very well, right? We know that length. We've been doing it this whole time. So let's draw that forearm length. And then just put a little bit more at the end of each. Just a little bit more. That's all. That's it. After that, you just make the ankle joints. Don't forget that. Okay, important joints there. And I hope all of you have done the knee joints also. That's also important. And then there are two ways of drawing feet. Okay, there are two ways. If the feet are pointing straight forward, right? They're pointing straight ahead. Then you draw it kind of like equilateral triangle, kind of like this. Or if it's pointing sideways, then you draw it like a right angle triangle. Okay, and this, everybody, this is a completely proportionately accurate human being. Completely proportionately accurate human being if you have followed my direction, exactly. Now, how exactly proportionate is it? Now, I don't want you all to think that this is just kind of proportionate, okay? So now I don't want you all to follow me. You guys have been drawing with me for about half an hour now. Put down your pencils, relax for a second, okay? Chill for a second. Let me just show you how accurate this actually is. Please don't follow me because I'm not going to be waiting and doing it slowly. I'm just showing you that I'm not going to alter this figure in any way. I am just going to follow it absolutely exactly. Okay, and you'll notice that it is absolutely accurate. Now, of course, you'll be noticing I'm putting a lot of muscle structures and things like that here. That's something which, of course, I can't teach, in the frame of time that we have right now. But it is a very, very simple technique to learn that also. Very simple technique of just understanding where muscle structures are supposed to be, and it's almost intuitive. It's like once I just show it to you, you'll just immediately be able to catch on to it. But right now, I'm just trying to show you how accurate this way of creating a human figure is. As you can see, right? Of course, I'm just doing this very quickly so that I don't waste any of your time. But you can see that it is completely accurate, right? Now, the question is there a way also to learn how to make very realistic sort of, not realistic, but like very natural ways for humans to sit, stand, walk, things like that? Yes, there is. That's called body language and gesture figures, okay, which is a separate, very, very simple way of understanding weight distribution in the body using the same methods that you saw just now, okay, including more flamboyant and more louder poses like action poses, things like this, which is all part of my masterclass. Now, for now, let's move ahead, okay? Let's move ahead to one other thing. I want to close with a really, really nice artwork. We're going to make, and I hope you all have some colors with you. We're going to make this guy. Thought I'd like to leave you all smiling. So let's make this fellow. Okay, so first of all, we need to make a circle. So either make a freehand circle if you want to. That's absolutely fine. You can make a freehand circle, or just find a glass or a small bowl or whatever, and just do a quick trace that way also. Okay. Either is fine by me. There's no point in making this class about how to draw a circle. So let's just make a circle in whichever way you're most comfortable, and then let's move ahead. So I'm going to make a freehand circle, basically not by using my fingers, not like this. Okay, that's not going to work. And not by using my wrist either. Okay, that's also not going to work. You basically have to just hold your hand quite stiff, keep it kind of floating on top of your page. Don't let it touch your page. And then just kind of move around using your shoulder. I know it sounds weird, but moving your shoulder, or rather your elbow, not your shoulder, sorry, your elbow. Wow, I just taught you human anatomy and then I made the mistake between shoulder and elbow. Sorry. Okay, and my genius technique of making a circle is by doing 1,000 bad circles, and somehow it becomes into a good circle. Okay, so now I have a decent circle with me. And with that, I'm going to now make one, I'm going to find the center of it, okay? Center is like roughly there, somewhere about there. Yeah, so find the center of your circle and just make a dot right in the center. Then from the right side and the left side of this circle, of this center, I want you to make an arc. Okay, an arc that just kind of goes out. One goes out this way, and the other, leaving the same amount of gap in between. One goes out the other way, like that. Right? Then under that, we just make that eyeball, one here and one here. Make it simultaneously, okay? Like do one eye and then immediately go and do the other eye, because it helps in comparing the two sizes to make sure it's roughly the same size. And then just kind of go outwards, out of the circle with the arc like this, and make a kind of a shape that's kind of like a crab claw. You see this? Kind of like a crab claw, right? Like Mr. Krabs' claw, kind of like that. Then here. Like that. Okay. Inside the eye, I'm going to make two ovals in each eye. Okay. Just like the dinosaur, it's that reflection thing. Right? Okay. Now, in a drawing like this, right? In a drawing like this, what do you think is the main star of the show in a drawing like this? Somebody tell me. What's the real thing that you got to pay attention to in a drawing like this? Teeth. Yes, absolutely right. Absolutely right. Okay, so the teeth is where we really need to pay a little attention to. So to do that, we have to get that really fantastic smile in place. And we start off with a V shape, a very broad V shape over here, like this. Now, whatever I draw on this side, I also draw at the same time on the other side, okay? Just to keep that proportionality and symmetricality. So I'll draw one straight line here, right? And I have to draw another straight line there. Then I draw a line that goes slightly up over here, and I have to draw the same thing over there. Then I draw one line that goes all the way up like this. That side also, all the way up like that. Then from there, it just comes straight down on both sides. And then to the and then it starts to bend like this, and then you can start to just join it in the middle like that. So now we have that really lovely smile. All right. Okay. Next thing, I'm going to make the not the teeth actually. Okay, I'm not going to start off with the teeth. Instead, I'm going to start off with the gums of the teeth. So you might think that I'm drawing teeth right now, like shark teeth or something, but these are not teeth. These are the gums of the teeth. And the gums are actually really important. They really help with the overall expression. It makes the smile look much wider. And then you can start off with the teeth. You can make it anyhow you want. You can make it really, really messed up. You can make it really broken and weird and, kind of damaged. Here I'm going to do a really nice overbite. Like this, it's going to look really good at the end because it will look like the two teeth are really, pressing and grinding into each other. This, like that. Okay, so I have that one side done. Let's do this side now. That. And also, if there are gaps between the teeth, please let it be. Okay, let gaps show because they look really, really nice at the end. Don't let all the teeth perfectly, match into each other. Make sure that there are some gaps somewhere. No, I'm just making. I'm just making the gums for the others, and then make those teeth. Okay. So now I got those teeth also set. Okay. Now time to do some outlining. Same as the dinosaur. And I'm going to start off with the black. So be a little careful around the eyes. That's really the most important. These two circles are the most important of the whole eye. Okay. Now the expressions might be done, but there's a lot of work to do with those micro expressions and wrinkles and all those details in the face, which we'll do after the coloring is done. Right now, just kind of color this out. Make sure the whole eye is nice and black like this. Okay, make sure that the eye and the make sure that the eye and the eyebrow are just one piece. Okay, they don't need to have like a separate um, like a separation line of any kind. It's just one continuous piece. Now you'll notice while you're coloring it that the paper is getting quite damp for sure, right? So we can't exactly um, go into coloring the yellow just yet. We'll have to hang on just a bit for that. Okay, so I'm going to wait for a sec for that to get dry. Otherwise, it's going to be the most dirtiest yellow and black mess you'll ever see. Um, so let's move on to the teeth a little bit since we're using the black color, right? Let's move on to the teeth. Okay, so now what I mean by let's move on to the teeth is let's do not the teeth exactly, but those spaces in between the teeth, right? So I want you to really carefully capture those little spaces between the teeth very, very neatly. And what happens is by doing that, right, it really makes the teeth stand out. Okay, there. So you really, by putting in the blacks, you really see those details really well of the teeth. Okay, so now this is just requires just another minute to